Just 50 miles north of New York City sits a castle on an island. It is mostly in ruins. But the castle isn't the only mysterious part of this island. The rocky land and the waters surrounding it are steeped in legend and lore. Although this is a somewhat sizable island in the popular Hudson River, it's only ever had 5 owners since around the time of the Revolution. In recent history, it had been abandoned for so long that it just became something most people saw outside the window from the Amtrak train between Albany and New York City. With the Bannerman Castle Trust and the Parks and Recreation Office, people have now been able to take a tour and see what this place is like in person and experience all the strange and intriguing, very personalized architectural features that make this place so interesting to look at. Francis, or as he was known, Frank Bannerman, a Scottish immigrant to Brooklyn in the 1850s, purchased Bannerman Island after getting into his father's Navy arms auctioning business, which is something we definitely wouldn't do today to the same degree. He was basically in the business of selling munitions. And as he needed to leave New York City when laws changed about owning these things, he purchased this island after viewing it on a canoeing trip and decided to build a Scottish look-alike castle with his own personal touches during construction. And this is the final and fascinating result. Francis Bannerman initially built the castle to hold all the munitions he was selling, and in the same style of unique architecture, he built a summer residence up at the top of the island with beautiful views in every direction. Just in walking around the pathways, there's different architectural features that were originally put in place, featuring the same almost neo-medieval style that Mr. Bannerman so enjoyed creating. The early Dutch settlers of the area knew that this place was generally avoided or just unused by the indigenous people, so they considered it somewhat haunted or mysterious themselves, and this has led to further rumors of the island containing shadow figures and people walking around, including apparitions that many have seen from shore or from boating in the waters around it. The castle took years to construct, from 1901 to 1908. But it was only in 1950 that the ferry boats serving the island sunk and the arsenal was left abandoned, and that was just after the last caretakers were living on the island in a small residence built onto the back of that main structure. On August 8, 1969, a massive fire destroyed so much of the buildings. Neglect, time, and the rotting wood in the roofs caused nearly the rest of the buildings to completely deteriorate, leaving just the stone walls. So there's nothing left of the home structure. The submerged bulkheads and other structures in the water make kayaking, boating, and other activities on the water somewhat dangerous. It's the continuation of the myths and legends surrounding this once mysteriously viewed island that has led to the paranormal stories and some of the fear of it now. My friends and I used to see this castle from the Amtrak train for years, but in 2009, nearly a third of the front wall and a corner of the arsenal collapsed. That's what led to people coming together to put the massive steel supports on the outside of the stone to keep the exterior walls intact as best as possible. For the last 30 years, restoration has been working all along to save this property and return it to what it looked like best, while also incorporating some of the ruins in the ways they are, and that's through the gardens and through the residence at the top of the hill. Bridges, walkways, stabilization, and taking an empty shell of this building and turning it into now the Visitors Center, complete with a museum and artifacts found during this entire process, is a beautiful way to honor the memory and present the history of what happened here. Before that, this place was considered off-limits and just a place that you had to access by boat, if possible, and safely somehow. Again, just adding to the danger of this place and what a turnaround it has gone through to be able to be inside these buildings. Visitors Center basically serves as a museum to show the entire history of the island, including the ancient history, and the ways in which the indigenous people viewed and used the island. It was actually very minimal. Most of the activity this island saw was truly due to Francis Bannerman, his business, and of course his massive architectural plans. And while we were on the tour with so many other people at the time, we learned that in the 70s and 80s it was primarily accessed as a place to party, and this upper house in particular is where people tended to hang out because of how damaged that castle had been. It must have been an amazing place to hang out with friends at one time, but I've included as much of the history as possible because now that's what's inside here. While I can only imagine how incredible it was to hang out in when it was abandoned, I truly love that it's become a place we can actually experience and learn about, accessible to everyone. And of course, Ryan and I being the way we are, we had to inquire with the former resident whether or not she experienced any paranormal activity when she lived here.
I got a question for you. Any ghost stories from the time you were here?
Ghost stories? No.
Saw anything?
No, going into the castle part at night was scary because of the shadows and if you had electricity, it was just one single bulb hanging from up, off the ceiling and things. So, and one time there was I discovered, I don't know where it came from, all of a sudden there was a piano in the castle not too far from a house, and so I used to go down at night and play the piano.
Really great acoustics in there, huh?
Wow, can you imagine how that piano must have sounded?
Right.
Damp old place there, and taking it out from some other place, they must have been horribly uncomfortable.
Right.
We're here. You wouldn't know it, but there's a castle down there. This is Bannerman Island, and just behind me is the actual castle. We've gotten as close as we can in the middle of the Hudson River, so thank you for exploring with us.
Bannerman Island, a great story.
Due to safety reasons and the fact that so much of this place is either literally blown apart, it was holding munitions, or become damaged in numerous storms and severe weather on the river, this is as close as people are allowed to see everything in person, and we're so lucky to even be able to get this close to this castle after so many years. This place has been viewed at a distance and by only so many people for so long, we really just wanted to take you on a brief tour of what we got to experience so we can share this beautiful Scottish Revival style castle on the Hudson River with everyone. If you love the strange and unusual, be sure to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Stay weird.